The edge of the Sol system shimmered as the void tore open. 22 battle carriers of the Xivakthar Dominion emerged from subspace, flanked by dreadwings, siphon frigates, and cloaked signal jammers. The fleet stretched like an iron curtain across the cold black, eclipsing asteroids and swallowing up the starlight. On the bridge of the Oblivion Crown, Supreme Commander Vader stood motionless. His tall, obsidian-plated form gleamed beneath the reflection of Earth's pale blue glow. "Initial scans confirm biosphere saturation," intoned sub-strategist Ralvek. "Orbital defenses minimal, planet-wide resistance, archaic." Vader's lipless mouth barely moved. Then the cycle repeats. One more species that mistook peace for security. The Xivakthar had crushed 14 civilizations in the last 2 decades. Earth was supposed to be the 15th, except this time something felt off. Not that they'd admit it. Yet. Phase 1. Psychological subjugation, Ralvek continued. Strike only visible military outposts, deliver precision orbital fire, cripple their sense of control without targeting population centers, show them we could have, but didn't. The goal wasn't annihilation, it was dominance. It always worked. They even gave it a name, benevolent conquest. The first targets blinked onto the main screen: military satellites, coastal naval bases, terrestrial defense grids. Commander Eras, a seasoned veteran, chuckled from his station. Their northern command center is broadcasting live emergency coverage on a public frequency. They're advertising their own downfall. The crew laughed, until a second frequency activated beneath the first. A clean, low hum. Data packets, binary bursts, encrypted. Someone was listening, and Earth wasn't just watching. They were recording. Back on Earth, in a hardened orbital platform hidden in the umbra of the moon, Colonel Avery Donovan stood calmly inside Earth's real command nexus. "Status?" he asked, arms folded. Lieutenant Barker pointed at the digital overlay projected across the ops center. "Just as predicted, they're ignoring our command bunkers, anti-orbit platforms, and kinetic launch rails. All hits are surface level, coastal outposts, dummy barracks, fake power grids." Donovan nodded. "They think we're still in the broadcast age. Let them." A timer flashed behind him. 2 hours, 37 minutes. That was how long the Xivakthar had been playing themselves. The alien fleet spread across Earth's low orbit, launching volley after volley. Explosions bloomed over empty fields and hollow buildings. Subterranean bunkers buried beneath fake installations went untouched. Earth's military command centers folded like wet cardboard, because that's what they were, props. Supreme Commander Vader watched with clinical satisfaction. "Begin the diplomacy stream," he ordered. A pre-recorded speech, translated into 70 Terran dialects, began beaming across Earth's comm networks. "People of Earth, you are not enemies. You are assets. You are valuable, but misguided. Lay down your weapons and—" The feed cut, then resumed, with a different voice, a human voice. "This is Earth's Orbital Defense Command," said a calm, gravel-toned man. "You've just attacked a scout training grid." Vader's head tilted slightly. The voice continued. "You haven't met our fleet, or our commanders, or our weapons." The bridge of the Oblivion Crown fell silent. The voice went on. "You've met our interns." Back in orbit, hidden inside the lunar shadow, Colonel Donovan smirked as the enemy fleet paused transmission. "That got their attention," said Barker. "We want them afraid," Donovan said, "but we also want them curious." He walked toward the tactical hologram showing the alien fleet. "Upload the telemetry logs from their primary missile systems. Analyze their spread pattern and field cycle refresh rates." "Why?" Barker asked. "Because they think they're here to win. We're here to learn." Supreme Commander Vader didn't blink. He never had. But even his species registered tension in other ways. He leaned forward. "They're bluffing." "No, sir," said Eras, pulling up revised data. "That comm structure we hit in the Amazon basin? It rebooted 4 times. There are no heat signatures, no corpses. It wasn't a base." "It was bait," Ralvek whispered. Vader stared at Earth's orbit, at the planet that had absorbed their attack without even replying with force. "Where," he growled, "is their actual military?" No one had an answer. Colonel Donovan received a ping, encrypted uplink. He tapped it open. "Visual confirmation. Xivakthar plasma streams recharge once every 17.6 seconds. Mid-barrage gap window equals 2.4 seconds. Radar jamming recycles on odd-numbered volleys. Another message followed. Summary: they shoot like they're used to fighting slow. Donovan smiled. That message came from Unit Echo 4, a group of human stealth scouts embedded on the planet's dark side, watching the aliens from 30 kilometers above. The aliens still didn't know they were there. The military the aliens had been fighting wasn't even the real thing. In the dark confines of the Oblivion Crown, a subtle dread took hold. "We've scanned their full spectrum," said Eris. "No major orbital weapons platforms, no cruiser fleets, no thermal spike from a mothership. If they had them, we'd see them." "Unless they're beneath the surface," Ralvek said quietly. "Or in stealth." Vader's voice turned cold. "Deploy drone swarms. Widespread. Find them." "But sir, now." Across the moon's far side, 20 kilometers beneath the surface, Earth's actual defense fleet began warming up. Mass driver railguns, kinetic harpoon platforms, subterranean drone hives. A voice echoed through the internal speaker of the lead dreadnought. "Fortress Terra." "Scout fleet engagement complete," said the AI. "Tactical analysis complete. Alien weaknesses mapped." Colonel Donovan's voice came through next. "Phase 2 authorization granted." A countdown began. 7 minutes to surface breach. In low orbit, the Zevakthar drones buzzed across Earth's upper atmosphere like a wave of locusts. But something was wrong. No resistance, no interference. Just silence. Until one drone picked up a flicker of light beneath the surface of the Atlantic. Then another found heat blooms in Antarctica. Then 50 more went dark, all at once. Supreme Commander Vader leaned in close to the display. "They're not bluffing." Ravlek exhaled. "We didn't destroy their military," Eris muttered. "We woke it up." 25 kilometers beneath Earth's crust, Fortress Terra was coming alive. It had never been seen, not in spy footage, not in declassified blueprints, not even in urban legend conspiracy forums. Not even the citizens of Earth knew it existed. And that was by design. Most humans thought Earth's defense budget went toward orbital cleanup drones and solar sails. They were partially correct. The cleanup drones were real, but they were also railgun platforms disguised as climate maintenance bots. As for the solar sails, those were kinetic mirror arrays, designed to refract sunlight and melt enemy ships if rotated fast enough. "Surface breach in T-2 minutes, the AI reported. Colonel Donovan stood on the bridge of SDS Revenant, Earth's most classified command dreadnought. Around him were officers who had never seen daylight during their tours, men and women bred in cold bunk silence, trained for a war Earth prayed would never come. "Begin distortion wake," he ordered. Above, in the upper atmosphere, reality began to bend. Light shimmered, sound flattened. The visual spectrum warped as if space itself was squinting, and for the first time in Earth's history, humanity opened the door. In orbit, on the Oblivion Crown, panic began to crack the polished calm of command. 12 scout drones lost in 7 seconds, Eris reported, voice strained. Sectors 43 through 62 are no longer responding. No visual contact, no data feedback, just silence. Vader clenched one hand into a tremor. "Do we have confirmation of hostile fire?" "No, sir. No heat signatures. No EM spikes. It's like something ate them." Ravlek pulled up a map of Earth's tectonic layout. He circled an expanding ring beneath the southern hemisphere. "Something is moving," he said. "Underneath." Humanity didn't just hide its weapons, it buried them in layers of misdirection. The Revenant wasn't the only sleeper. 6 other vessels, all nuclear-core dreadnoughts, now cracked through bedrock and sea shelf like titans emerging from hibernation. Each carried stealth-field hulls. Each had heat sinks deeper than their reactors. Each had been positioned beneath the first alien landing zones, waiting, watching, recording every energy pulse, every heat signature, every mistake. "Contact," reported Lieutenant Navarro on SDS Hammerwake. 5 alien warships above us. They're sitting in a loose diamond formation, blind to our position. "Targeting solution?" the captain asked. "Already done. Just waiting on Earth Command." Donovan's voice came through the unified feed. "You have authorization. Let the galaxy learn." Back on the Oblivion Crown, Commander Eras blinked rapidly. "Sir, 3 ships just went dark. Upper atmosphere. No explosions. No communications. One moment they were reading plasma coolant temps. Now nothing. Supreme Commander Vader turned to Ravlek. "What is this?" Ravlek didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked at the Earth projection. The planetary icon now pulsed with strange interference. Not offensive, not defensive, just ominous. "They're not fighting back," he finally said. "They're studying us." On Earth's civilian networks, nothing was shown. No alerts, no chaos. Children played, subways ran, cafes stayed open. But behind that illusion, Earth's true reaction was already halfway to orbit. Donovan leaned forward over the table inside Revenant's command center. "Now that we've seen their weapons, it's time to introduce ours. Engage the Chimera net." Barker blinked. "Sir, that's still a prototype." "Then it's a good time to find out if it works." The Chimera net was Earth's answer to war. A dynamic AI-generated miscommunication web that flooded enemy systems with false telemetry, redirected scans, echoed heat signatures, and created ghost fleets. Above Earth, Zivak-Thar dreadwings began firing on each other, not by design, by deception. Their long-range tracking systems were now reading phantom Terran ships between real ones. "Strike Group 6 just fired on Dread Carrier 7, someone yelled in Vader's command deck. "That's friendly fire." "No, it's worse," Ravlek said grimly. "They're not hallucinating. They're seeing what Earth wants them to see." Eris's face twisted. "How are they jamming our optics without outputting any—" He stopped. He didn't need to finish, because in that moment, they all realized, Earth wasn't jamming anything. It had simply become invisible. The SDS Hammerwake launched. It breached atmosphere with a soundless ripple, coated in magnetic stealth mesh. From low orbit, it loosed its payload. Screamer relays. Not weapons, not yet. Just beacons. And every beacon latched onto a Zivak-Thar ship's comm relay, broadcasting a single phrase in crystal-clear Terran standard. "You are fighting a reconnaissance unit." Then another phrase. "Main forces have not yet deployed." Then a third. "Stand down while you still can." On the Oblivion Crown, a deathly quiet fell across the bridge. "They're bluffing," muttered Eris. Vader stared at the display. "Are they?" Ravlek's data screens flickered. "Sir, we've identified at least 14 separate heat signatures, matching the ones that shouldn't exist. They're under the crust. They're moving." "Where are they going?" Vader asked. Ravlek looked up. "They're surrounding us." Colonel Donovan's voice came across the entire human fleet. "Ladies and gentlemen, now we teach." From low orbit to high, Earth's actual weapons unveiled themselves. Satellites disguised as space junk rotated into firing positions. Ion bursts launched from hidden lunar installations, and from the oceans, sleek dagger-like warships shot into the sky, each trailing vapor rings and burning ozone. The Zivak-Thar fleet had thought Earth was unprepared. What they were actually fighting was only Earth's scout unit. Panic is a slow word. What hit the Zivak-Thar command fleet wasn't slow. It was orchestral, synchronized, cascading disruption. Each wave of Earth's retaliation wasn't just an act of war. It was performance. Every human scout vessel moved with uncanny rhythm. No wasted fire, no erratic comms, no hesitation. To the Zivak-Thar sensors, it looked like the Earth ships were acting on a singular shared thought. They weren't. They were acting on decades of contingency drills. Commander Eras watched in horror as yet another dreadwing blinked out of his command view. "Ship 44, gone. Sensors report a kinetic rupture at the hull core. No explosion, just gone." Supreme Commander Vader clenched both clawed hands around the railing of his command throne. "They're not fighting to win," he said slowly. "They're fighting to make a point." Inside Fortress Terra's ops chamber, Colonel Donovan remained calm as the world burned. Just not his world. "Update." Lieutenant Barker pointed at a live feed where Zivak-Thar frigates were pivoting in place, turning their weapons toward empty space. "Chimera net holding. 70% of their fleet is still chasing phantom Earth vessels. Meanwhile, all real Earth units remain under full stealth. And the real hits? 35 confirmed direct strikes on Zivak-Thar cores. We've disabled 3 command ships and a plasma factory barge." Donovan nodded. "Casualty count?" Barker hesitated. "None." Back aboard the Oblivion Crown, it was time for the Supreme Commander to break the unthinkable silence. Open transmission to all units. Full fleet, Vader ordered. The comms officer's tentacles hesitated. Encrypted or broad? Vader didn't hesitate. Broad. Let them all hear. The static cracked. Vader's voice surged through every Zivak-Thar ship, down to the lowest engineer and newest cadet. This is Supreme Commander Vader of the Dominion High Fleet. We are engaged against a force that is not as primitive as we believed. Our target was Earth. Our mistake was assuming they had shown their full hand. A pause. They have not. We've been striking at shadows. Earth has not deployed its true arsenal. What you have engaged is their scout unit. On the bridge of SDS Revenant, Colonel Donovan folded his arms as Earth intercepted the message. Guess the good commander figured it out, Barker muttered. They always do, Donovan said, right before the lesson hits. A smaller screen pinged. Unit Echo 4 had transmitted again. This time, it wasn't data. It was footage. Helmet cam. Silent. Brutal. A Zivak-Thar boarding party had found one of Earth's scout units hiding aboard a stealth corvette. 6 humans. Standard recon gear. They weren't armed like soldiers. They didn't need to be. One scout, call sign Lark, took out the first intruder with a blade made from compressed bone resin. The Zivak-Thar soldier never made a sound. By the time the rest of the boarding party realized what was happening, they were already dead. Echo 4's final comment. You never see the real ones coming. In the skies above Earth, the Zivak-Thar fleet continued to splinter under phantom fire and psychological fracture. In their culture, the concept of deception was primitive. Tactics were direct, blunt, overpowering. Earth didn't just reject that concept. They had weaponized misdirection. From false communications to thermal echoes, everything the aliens had been reading was a puzzle that solved itself only once it exploded in their face. Ravlek spun toward his console. Sir, enemy forces are splitting into 2 fronts. One appears to be encircling us. The other, we can't track. Can't track. They're jamming us on quantum-localized channels. It's impossible unless... He stopped, realizing it too late. Vader stood silent. They're inside our protocols. Donovan stood quietly as Earth's satellite grid fully activated. From civilian weather units to long-dormant museum probes, every object Earth had ever sent into orbit, junk or not, was now feeding tactical telemetry into Fortress Terra. One man on Earth gave the order. Every satellite listened. It was like watching Earth flex, not violently, just confidently. And up above, the Zivak-Thar finally saw it, as Earth's entire fleet uncloaked at once, not hundreds, thousands. They had an entire armada hidden in low orbit, Eris screamed. Above every continent, Ravlek whispered, in pieces. Fragmented, disguised as civilian satellites, drones, energy reflectors. They were never unarmed. Eris looked pale. But they let us strike. They let us win the first wave. Vader's voice was now grim. They needed to see how we fight. Colonel Donovan smiled softly. Time for a reminder. He tapped a single command. The feed to the Zivak-Thar fleet activated. One by one, human ships began broadcasting the same message. No threats, just names. Names of each scout they'd seen. Names of Earth's actual commanders. And a closing sentence. You weren't ready for us. That's okay. Neither were we. This is how we learn. The alien fleet froze, and Earth's second wave ignited. It began without warning. No countdown, no dramatic music, no posturing, just fire. White-hot spears of kinetic energy launched from low-orbit cannons hidden inside Earth's seemingly harmless weather satellites. Not energy blasts, not plasma streams. No, Earth-fired tungsten rods, simple, silent, and fast enough to hit like miniature asteroids. 6 Dreadwings ceased to exist in the first 6 seconds. One Zivak-Thar destroyer didn't even realize it was under attack. It simply split in half, the crew still at their stations when the hull was crushed like wet bark beneath a sledgehammer. Supreme Commander Vader had no words. His fleet had never seen a second wave like this. It wasn't coordinated like a dance. It was clinical surgical. It was personal. Sir, Ravlek whispered, voice flat. We just lost visual on sectors 12 through 36, entirely. That's impossible, Commander Eris muttered, staring at the tactical map. It had gone black. Not red for destroyed, not yellow for compromised, just erased, as if the ships had never existed. No debris, no distress signals, no light. "Ghost protocol," Ravlik finally said. "I read about it once. Human stealth strikes designed to eliminate both the target and the memory of the target." Vader turned slowly. "You mean they didn't just destroy the ships? They destroyed the evidence that those ships..." Inside SDS Revenant, Earth's true flagship, Colonel Donovan stood at ease. Across the holotable, every ship under Earth's real command checked in. 59 confirmed hull impacts, said Barker. 0 return fire. Their command structure is unraveling. "They still don't know where we are," another officer added. "They're targeting reflections." The colonel finally smiled. "Let's make sure they keep doing that." He turned toward the communication officer. "Patch me into their open fleet band." Static. A buzz. Then his voice. "To the Zavak-Thar fleet. This is Colonel Donovan, representing the Earth Defense Network. You believed you were attacking Earth's military. You were mistaken. You engaged a training grid." A pause. Just long enough for the weight to settle. "You have not seen our navy. You have not met our generals. You haven't even fought our soldiers. You fought our scouts." On the Oblivion Crown, Ira staggered backward. That's not possible." "They're bluffing," another officer said, but it was less a statement, more a prayer. Vader stared at the void where 6 of his ships had just vanished. "No," he whispered. "They're teaching us." Back on Earth, the rest of the world remained eerily calm. Civilians weren't told what was happening. There were no dramatic press conferences, no sirens, no global alerts, because they didn't need to know. Humanity had spent the last century building defenses in silence, not for glory, but survival. And while politicians debated in public chambers, the people who knew had prepared for this very moment. And now, they were executing it, perfectly. Donovan issued the next order. "Engage Archangel sequence." Barker blinked. "Sir, that's classified even beyond our clearance." Donovan nodded once. "Not anymore." High above, a station disguised as an abandoned solar power grid came online. The Archangel array wasn't a weapon in the traditional sense. It was a hijacker, a sophisticated suite of AI-driven systems designed to mimic, infiltrate, and control enemy command software. Within seconds, over 200 Zavak-Thar ships were no longer answering their own orders. They were responding to Earth's. Half the alien fleet blinked off their propulsion. The other half rerouted their energy to non-critical systems. The ships floated, helpless, like toys in the bathtub of a sleeping god. Vader spun. "They've breached our command structure. Override protocols now." "No use," cried Ravlik. "They're already inside the route commands. We're not locked out. They're rewriting the language our ships operate in." Eris collapsed into his chair. "This isn't war," he whispered. "This is a harvest." Colonel Donovan leaned against the console, completely calm. He tapped a single command. One by one, the hijacked Zavak-Thar ships began broadcasting images. Not threats, just footage. Humanity's military academies, children in simulation pods, soldiers sparring in lunar gravity chambers, and one chilling slide. Phase 1, recon complete. Phase 2, evaluation underway. Back on the Oblivion Crown, chaos reigned. The officers shouted, the alarms wailed, the fleet trembled, and Supreme Commander Vader, who had never known fear, now understood it completely. Because for the first time he realized he had no idea what Earth's full response even looked like. He had only seen the shadow, and the shadow had eaten his fleet. Eras approached slowly. "Commander," he said, voice broken, "we have one option left. Recall the fleet. Evacuate." Vader stared at the endless blue marble on the screen. "No," he said quietly. "No more pride. No more war. Send a message." "To who?" "To whoever's in charge." Colonel Donovan received the incoming transmission. It was simple, a single sentence. "We surrender. Please don't send your main force." The Zavak-Thar fleet didn't fall. It collapsed. Not from a superior show of force, not from fire and fury, but from understanding. The moment Supreme Commander Vader uttered the words, "We surrender," something changed across the galaxy. This wasn't just a military failure. This was a historical one. For centuries, the Zavak-Thar had viewed war as formulaic, predictable, conquer with force, subdue with fear, assimilate through order. But Earth hadn't followed the formula. Earth rewrote it. Colonel Donovan stood aboard SDS Revenant, watching the alien fleet drift in silence, engines cold, weapons powered down. They had stopped transmitting threats, stopped broadcasting scans. They weren't even speaking to each other, just floating, like survivors waiting for judgment. Barker looked up from his station. "We just got a high-priority relay from the UN Security Council." "Let me guess," Donovan said. "They want to take credit." "They want us to stand down," Barker said. "They're afraid we'll escalate." Donovan raised an eyebrow. "They think we're the escalation?" Aboard the Oblivion Crown, Supreme Commander Vader slumped in silence. Ravlek stood at his side, eyes downcast. "Have they responded?" Vader asked. "Number but. One of their ships launched a small shuttle." "A diplomatic envoy?" "Maybe," Ravlek said. "Or something else." The small shuttle approached the Oblivion Crown alone. No escorts, no weapons charged. Its signal bore only one identifier. Scout Commander, Echelon 1. The Zevak-Thar crew expected an admiral, a warlord, a monster. What walked onto their command deck was a woman, mid-30s, human, calm, short-cropped hair, black uniform, no insignia. She didn't carry a weapon. She didn't need to. Her presence was enough. She scanned the room with quiet eyes, then spoke. "Your fleet was never the threat." Vader blinked. "Excuse me?" She stepped closer. "We never feared your weapons. We feared your certainty, because that's what gets people hurt." "My name," she continued, "is Commander Lex Harrow. I lead Earth's Scout Integration Unit." "You mean the force we fought?" She nodded. "Yes, all of us. 57 humans in stealth-capable vessels, none over 30, most fresh out of academy. Their job wasn't to stop you, it was to watch." Vader's mouth was dry. "You let our forces win, at first." "No," she corrected. "We let you fight shadows. You never actually touched us." Ravlek took a breath. "But why? Why didn't you destroy us the moment we entered your system?" Harrow looked at him. "Because we wanted you to see." "See what?" "What happens," she said slowly, "when you poke a civilization that stopped advertising its strength." Donovan watched the feed from the shuttle. He didn't smile. He didn't gloat. He just nodded once. "They're listening," Barker said quietly. "For now," Donovan replied. "Let's make sure they remember." Commander Harrow stood at the center of the alien command deck, her voice calm and quiet. "You thought you were conquering Earth," she said. "But the truth is, Earth isn't just a planet." She paused. "It's a training ground." Vader stiffened. "You think we're violent," she continued. "You think we're reckless, and you're not wrong. But what you fought wasn't Earth's army. What you fought was Earth's warning shot." She looked him dead in the eyes. "You invaded a system where we train our scouts." Back on Earth, Donovan gave the order. "Activate mirror net transmission." From Earth's orbit to Zevak-Thar space, a loop began to broadcast. Not a threat, not a show of force, just a simple image. Thousands of Earth warships, in formation, perfect silence, no movement. Then one line appeared across the galaxy. "This was never our full response." The message wasn't meant to frighten, it was meant to reframe. On the Oblivion Crown, Vader stood. His voice was steady. "I request peace negotiations." Commander Harrow shook her head gently. "No negotiation, just understanding." She turned to go, then stopped. "One last thing," she said. "When you report this to your high command, tell them exactly what happened here." "And what happened?" "You didn't lose a war," she said. "You lost an assumption." Weeks passed. The Zevak-Thar High Assembly convened, and for the first time in recorded Dominion history, they declared a ceasefire, not because they were forced to, but because they had finally, deeply, undeniably understood Earth. They called it the Scout War, not because of the scale, but because of the humiliation, because the might of an empire had been stopped, not by a fleet, but by Earth's lowest-ranked unit, its scouts. In time, the Zevak-Thar would become allies. They'd join Earth in joint military drills, exchange programs, trade routes. But no matter how close they became, no matter how friendly the meetings, No one ever forgot the truth. You never saw the real human force, because if you did, you wouldn't be around to talk about it. Final message transmitted across the galaxy. If you ever fight Earth again, make sure you're not just fighting our scouts, or you won't even see the main force arrive.